The afternoon sun hung heavy over the small Georgia town as Maya Johnson pulled her old Honda into the quick-stop gas station on Route 19. Her daughters, 12-year-old Kaisha and 8-year-old Imani, sat in the back seat, still dressed in their Sunday church clothes floral dresses. Maya had sewn herself from discount fabric. They'd just come from service at New Hope Baptist, where Maya sang in the choir every week. Maya worked double shifts at the county hospital as a nursing assistant, her hands perpetually dry from sanitizer, her feet aching in those white sneakers she replaced every 6 months. She was 34 but looked older, not from hardness, but from the weight of carrying everything alone since her husband, Marcus, had been deployed overseas with his Marine unit 2 years ago. Every penny counted. Every gallon of gas was budgeted. As she stepped out to pump gas, Maya noticed the police cruiser idling near the store entrance. Officer Bradley Cummings leaned against it, aviator sunglasses reflecting the sunlight, arms crossed over his chest. His partner, Officer Derek Walsh, emerged from the convenience store with a coffee, both men watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Maya had lived in Fairwood her whole life. She knew these officers, knew their reputations, knew how they patrolled certain neighborhoods more heavily than others, knew the whispers at church about traffic stops that lasted too long, questions that felt like interrogations. She focused on the pump, watching the numbers climb slowly. $30, that's all she could afford until Friday. The girls were quiet in the car, Imani reading a library book, Keisha texting her grandmother. Then Officer Cummings pushed off from his cruiser and started walking toward her, his hand resting casually on his belt, his expression unreadable behind those sunglasses. Maya's heart began to beat faster, though she'd done nothing wrong. She never did anything wrong. But in Fairwood, that didn't always matter. Part 2. The questioning. Afternoon, ma'am. Officer Cummings stopped 3 feet from Maya, his voice flat and formal. License and registration, please. Maya's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her purse through the open driver's window. Is something wrong, officer? I'm just getting gas. License and registration, he repeated, no warmth in his tone. Officer Walsh had moved closer now, positioned near the passenger side, his hand also near his weapon, a stance that felt more like threat than protection. Maya handed over her documents, her church program slipping out and falling to the ground. Cummings didn't acknowledge it. He studied her license like it contained hidden messages, taking far longer than necessary. Through the rear window, she could see Kaisha's worried face, her daughter's hand reaching for Imani's. This your vehicle? Cummings asked. Yes, sir. Who are those children? My daughters, officer. We're just heading home from church. Maya kept her voice steady, respectful, though anger was beginning to simmer beneath her fear. This wasn't protocol. This was something else. Step away from the vehicle, please. Sir, I haven't done anything. I said step away from the vehicle. His voice rose just enough to draw attention. An older white couple pumping gas 2 lanes overturned to stare. Maya felt their eyes like weights. She stepped back, hands visible, heart hammering. Walsh opened the rear door without asking, startling both girls. You two stay right there, he barked at them. Imani started crying. Please, don't scare my babies, Maya pleaded. What is this about? We've had reports of drug activity in vehicles matching this description, Cummings said, circling her car slowly. We're going to need to search it. Maya knew this was a lie. Her car was a decade-old sedan, common as dirt. But she also knew what happened when black folks refused searches, knew the stories that ended with resisted arrest and shattered families. So she stood there, helpless and humiliated. As Walsh began pulling things from her car, the girls' backpacks, her Bible, the Tupperware containers from the church potluck, Sunday afternoon traffic slowed, people watching, and Maya felt smaller with every passing second. Part 3. The crowd gathers. Walsh tossed Maya's nursing scrubs onto the hot pavement, followed by Keisha's homework folder, papers scattering in the breeze. He dumped out Imani's backpack, coloring books, crayons, a stuffed rabbit she'd had since she was 3. The little girl's sobs grew louder. "Please, can I at least comfort my daughter?" Maya asked, taking a half step toward the car. "Stay where you are," Cummings snapped, his hand moving to his belt again in that familiar, threatening way. More people had stopped now. 3 cars sat idle at nearby pumps, their drivers watching. An elderly black man in a truck shook his head slowly, his expression a mixture of anger and recognition. He'd seen this before, lived it himself probably. A young white woman held up her phone, filming, though Maya doubted it would matter. These things got filmed all the time. But what Maya didn't notice was the line of motorcycles pulling into the far end of the parking lot. 7 of them, their engines rumbling like distant thunder before cutting off one by one. The riders dismounted, all wearing leather vests with the same patch on the back, a wind skull, flames, and words Maya couldn't make out from where she stood. Walsh was now searching under the seats, his movements aggressive, frustrated at finding nothing. "Got to be something here," he muttered to Cummings. "They always have something, officers." A deep voice cut through the tension like a blade. The man who spoke was tall, broad-shouldered, white, probably in his early 50s, with a gray-streaked beard. His leather vest bore more patches than the others, and he walked with the kind of authority that made even Cummings pause. "What's the problem here?" "Police business." "Move along," Cummings said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. "That's my sister-in-law you're harassing." The man came closer, and now Maya could see his vest clearly. The patches read President and Hell's Angels MC. His eyes, a sharp blue, were fixed on the officers with an intensity that made Cummings actually take a step back. "And those are my nieces crying in that car." Maya's breath caught. Marcus. This had to be about Marcus. Part 4. The power shifts. "Your brother Marcus served with me in Fallujah," the man continued, his voice carrying across the parking lot. More bikers had gathered behind him now, a wall of leather and steel, arms crossed, faces stone. "He saved my life. Took shrapnel that was meant for me. So his family is my family. Now I'll ask again, what's the problem here?" Officer Cummings' jaw tightened. "Sir, we're conducting a lawful search based on what?" The biker present, Jake, Maya suddenly remembered Marcus mentioning. Him, always speaking his name with respect, didn't raise his voice, but somehow it filled the space anyway. "You got probable cause? A warrant? Or you just decided to terrorize a woman and 2 little girls on a Sunday afternoon because you could?" Walsh emerged from the car, empty-handed and red-faced. "We had reasonable suspicion." "Of what?" "Being black." "At a gas station?" Jake's question hung in the air like an accusation. "Because from where I'm standing, all I see is a nursing assistant in her church clothes, trying to buy gas with her children. Nothing suspicious about that unless you're looking through a particular lens." A few people in the gathering crowd murmured agreement. The woman with the phone had moved closer, still recording. Maya noticed 2 more phones had appeared, all pointed at the officers. Cummings tried to regain control. "We don't answer to you, whoever you are. Jake Reynolds, president of the Southern Charter, Hell's Angels Motorcycle Club." Jake pulled out his phone with deliberate slowness. "But you will answer to Chief Patterson. He and I have coffee every Thursday morning, been friends for 20 years. Want me to call him right now? Or maybe I'll call my lawyer instead. He loves cases like this. Civil rights violations, unlawful search, emotional distress to minors." He glanced at Imani, still crying in the back seat. "That little girl's going to have nightmares. You proud of that?" Walsh and Cummings exchanged a look. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and everyone present could feel it. The officers who'd been so aggressive moments ago now stood uncertain, their authority suddenly fragile against this unexpected opposition. "Ma'am," Jake said, turning to Maya, his voice gentling. "Did you give these officers permission to search your vehicle?" Maya found her voice stronger now. "No, sir, I did not." Part 5. The evidence builds. Jake nodded slowly, then addressed the crowd that had grown to nearly 20 people. "Anyone here see what happened? How this started?" The elderly black man in the truck spoke up immediately. "She was just pumping gas. They approached her for no reason, demanded her license, then started searching without cause." His voice was firm, decades of witnessing injustice giving weight to his words. The young woman with the phone stepped forward. "I got it all recorded, from when they made her step away from her car until now. They never mentioned probable cause until you got here. Send that to me," Jake said, handing her a card. Then he turned back to Cummings. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return this woman's belongings, apologize to her and her daughters, and then you're going to leave. And I'm going to file a formal complaint with the department, with copies going to the mayor's office and the county supervisor." "You can't," Walsh started. "I can and I will." Jake's voice went cold. "See, the thing about running a motorcycle club is you learn the law inside and out. We have to, because people make assumptions about us too. So I know exactly what rights were violated here today. I've got witnesses, video evidence, and enough connections in this town to make sure this doesn't disappear into some filing cabinet." One of the other bikers, a black man with grained temples and kind eyes, walked slowly to Maya's car. He crouched down beside the rear window. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said gently to Amani. "I'm Uncle Raymond. Your daddy's told me all about you. You like butterflies, right?" The little girl nodded through her tears. "It's okay now. Nobody's going to hurt you." Maya felt something crack inside her chest. Gratitude, relief, the weight of fear finally lifting. She'd spent so long feeling alone, vulnerable, carrying everything by herself. But Marcus had never really left them unprotected. He'd built a brotherhood that extended to his family, a network of protection she hadn't known existed. Cummings threw her license and registration onto the hood of her car. "This is harassment," he said, but his voice was weak now. "No," Maya said quietly, finding courage she didn't know she possessed. "What you did to me and my children, that was harassment." Part 6. The reckoning begins. By Monday morning, the video had spread across social media like wildfire. The young woman, whose name was Emily Thornton and who worked as a journalist for the local paper, had posted it with a detailed account of what she'd witnessed. Within 12 hours, it had been shared 3,000 times, picked up by regional news outlets, and caught the attention of the county's NAACP chapter. Maya sat at her kitchen table, her phone buzzing with messages of support from people she'd never met. But she also saw the darker comments, the ones defending the officers, claiming she must have done something to warrant attention. Those words stung, but they no longer surprised her. Jake called at 8 in the morning. "Maya, I've already spoken with my attorney. His name is David Chun, best civil rights lawyer in the state. He wants to meet with you today if you're willing. No charge. He owes me a favor." "I don't know," Maya said softly. "I just want to move on, not make trouble." "With respect, you didn't make trouble. They did." Jake's voice was firm but kind. "And if we don't hold them accountable, they'll do it to someone else. Maybe someone without witnesses or cameras. Maybe someone who doesn't walk away." That landed hard. Maya thought of the other women in her church, the story shared in whispered conversations. She thought of her daughters, growing up in a world where authority could mean terror instead of safety. "Okay," she said. "I'll meet with him." By Wednesday, the department had issued a statement calling the incident a misunderstanding and promising an internal review. Chief Patterson called Maya personally, a conversation that felt more like damage control than genuine concern. He assured her the officers would receive additional training, but Jake and his lawyer pushed harder. They filed formal complaints with the State Police Oversight Board. They provided the video, witness statements, and a timeline that made the officers' actions impossible to defend. Emily Thornton wrote a comprehensive article for the newspaper, interviewing Maya, the witnesses, and even reaching out to other people of color in Fairwood who shared similar experiences. The pressure built. The mayor's office received hundreds of calls and emails. A protest was organized for Saturday, peaceful but visible. Maya didn't plan to attend, but Friday night, Kaisha came to her room. "Mama, I want to go to the march," the 12-year-old said. "I want people to know what happened to us. I'm tired of being scared." Maya looked at her daughter, so young but already carrying the weight of understanding that the world wouldn't always be fair to her. "Then we'll go together," she said. Part 7. The public reckoning. Saturday morning dawned clear and cool. Maya dressed carefully in a simple navy dress, her daughters beside her in jeans and t-shirts that read, "Justice for All." Her hands shook as she tied Amani's shoes, but her resolve was solid. The town square filled with nearly 400 people, far more than the organizers expected. Some were black families with their own stories of harassment. Others were white allies holding signs reading "Fairwood can do better," and "Protect and serve means everyone." Jake and his motorcycle club formed a protective perimeter, their presence both striking and strangely comforting. Local news cameras lined the street. A reporter approached Maya, microphone extended. "Mrs. Johnson, would you be willing to share what happened?" Maya had prepared nothing, but she thought of Amani's tears, of Kaisha's worried face, of every time she'd swallowed her fear and accepted mistreatment as normal. She thought of Marcus overseas, serving a country that didn't always serve him back. "I'm a nursing assistant," Maya began, her voice quiet but steady. "I take care of people when they're sick and scared. I go to church. I raise my daughters to be respectful and kind. Last Sunday, I stopped for gas in my own hometown, and I was treated like a criminal in front of my babies for no reason except the color of my skin." Her voice cracked, but she continued, "My husband is overseas defending this country, and while he's gone, police officers traumatized his children. That's not right. That's not America. And I won't be quiet about it anymore." The crowd erupted in applause and supportive shouts. Maya felt tears streaming down her face, but they weren't tears of shame anymore. They were tears of release, of being heard, of standing in her truth. Inside the police station, Chief Patterson watched through the window, his expression troubled. The pressure had become impossible to ignore. The State Oversight Board had launched a formal investigation. The mayor had personally called him that morning with words that sounded like ultimatums. And the video evidence was damning. No amount of spin could make what happened look acceptable. By Monday, the announcement came. Officers Bradley Cummings and Derek Walsh had been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. It wasn't everything, but it was a beginning. Part 8. The healing after 3 months later. Maya sat on her front porch swing, watching Kaisha and Amani play in the yard. The late autumn air carried the smell of wood smoke and fallen leaves. Inside, a pot roast cooked slowly, Marcus's favorite meal, because today he was finally coming home. The investigation had concluded with both officers being terminated. Cummings faced additional charges for filing a false report. The department implemented new training protocols and body camera requirements. The settlement from the civil suit wasn't enormous, but it was enough to fix Maya's car, put money in the girls' college funds, and catch up on bills that had piled up. More importantly, something had shifted in Fairwood. The incident had forced conversations people had been avoiding for years. Town halls were organized. A civilian oversight committee was formed. Change was slow and imperfect, but it was happening. Jake's motorcycle rumbled up the street, followed by 5 others. The bikers had become regular visitors, checking on Maya and the girls, bringing groceries when money was tight, showing up to Kaisha's volleyball games and Amani's school play. They were family now chosen family, the kind Marcus had built through blood and sacrifice. "Mail's here," Jake called, walking up the drive with an envelope. "From your husband." Maya opened it carefully. Inside was Marcus's letter and a photograph of him and his unit, dusty and grinning somewhere in the desert. On the back, he'd written, "Jake told me what happened. I'm so proud of you for standing up. That's the woman I married, strong, brave, and never backing down from what's right. We'll be home soon. Hold on just a little longer." She pressed the photo to her chest, smiling through tears. The girls ran over, and Maya pulled them close. They'd been through fire, but they hadn't been consumed. They'd stood in their truth, and truth had a power all its own. As the sun set over Fairwood, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not because everything was perfect. It wasn't. Not because all wrongs had been righted. They hadn't been. But because she discovered her own voice, her own strength, and learned that she didn't have to carry everything alone. The motorcycle engines roared to life as Jake and his crew prepared to leave. He waved from the street, and Maya waved back, grateful for the unexpected angels that had appeared when she needed them most. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight, surrounded by her daughters and the promise of Marcus's return, Maya Johnson was exactly where she belonged, standing in her dignity, wrapped in her truth, and finally blessedly home.